Hey mommy brainers, welcome to today's video. I have big news for you all. I am certified. I just received my certification as a birth doula through Childbirth International a few days ago, and I thought I'd celebrate by talking about something birthy, and that would be birth plans. A while ago I heard a lot of advice going around saying don't make a birth plan, it's not worth to get your hopes too high, you know, things are going to go the exact opposite of what you think they're going to go, birth plans really just set you up for disappointment, and I think that can be true if birth plans are looked at the wrong way. I think birth plans are really misunderstood, and I want to talk about why I think birth plans are a good idea and what the actual purposes of a birth plan are versus what sometimes they can become. So a birth plan is not a promise. It is not what's going to happen set in stone. It's just a piece of paper that is very valuable in many different ways, and I want to get into that, why it's valuable, but it's important not to look at a birth plan like this is how it's gonna go or I'm gonna be pissed. You know, you can't go into birth like that, because it's true, birth does vary, and I think that's one thing that makes birth so beautiful is that it can just be a whole array of different things can happen to your birth that make it unique to you and something that you can celebrate personally, but that doesn't mean we can't think about what we want and research. And I think that's the first thing I want to talk about as far as pros of making a birth plan. It's really important to know what you want, because if you go in not having a plan, then you're going in really open to decisions being made for you. So it's important, I think, to research and think about, how do I feel about episiotomies? How do I feel about circumcision? What about epidurals? What are the pros and cons of all these things? Because no matter what choice you end up making, as long as you're making an informed decision, you're going to feel so much more in charge, and that is the empowering part of birth, is when you know that you made a choice and you knew, you know, the whole story about that choice. No one was hiding any information from you. I think that's really one of the most beautiful things about making a birth plan, is just it's a very empowering and enlightening experience to do. The next big thing that I think birth plans do is provide really clear communication between you and your birth team or your hospital staff or whoever you're going to be birthing with, whether it's at home, at a birth center, in a hospital, it doesn't matter. Across the board, it's really important to communicate what you want with the people who are going to be surrounding you during your birth. That includes family and friends who are going to be present. So, you know, this is, especially if you've had past births, you can kind of talk about a little bit what you like and what you don't like, or what you think you'll like and don't like, you know, where you want to have the baby. Do you want to try having the baby in the tub? What positions do you want to be? These are all things that you can communicate, especially to the hospital staff at a hospital. It's very important to have a birth plan to clearly pass on your idea of your birth to them, especially with rotating staff and all that good stuff. And lastly, I think it's important to have a birth plan because things do go wrong. Sometimes things do change, not across the board, this isn't guaranteed, but it's always nice and comforting, I think, to have a plan B. What happens if you do need a C-section? Who's gonna stay with you? Do you want film or photography? Or do you want your partner to go with the baby? Where do you want things to happen? What do you want to happen? Do you want to try a gentle cesarean where your baby's placed on your chest immediately after as though you delivered vaginally? And can they do that? It is a really good thing to talk about with your provider too, and really check in with you know, how much of your idea for your perfect birth can they accommodate. So all these reasons, you know, it's really emotionally and physically and mentally empowering to write a birth plan. It's not a promise, but it is a tool, and it's a tool that I think that's important to use. So I highly recommend writing a birth plan. If you want me to talk a little bit more about birth plans and writing them and what might go in them, I can. Just let me know down in the comments if you want to know any more about birth plans. Other than that, like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye guys.